Welcome to The Other Discovery Show, the podcast. It's about all the other things that we found out throughout the week. I'm Kirk.
And I am Zach. This week, I discovered some things. Me and Kirk have been taking a intro to algae class for work. And I mean,
algae is very diverse.
Algae is very diverse.
Dang it, I need to stop saying inside jokes that only are between you and me.
Well, they didn't know it was a joke. People were just like, that's a fact. And yes, that might be true. No, it is true. And there's a lot of them. But they say it easily. I've heard it 30 times.
They talk about it every single module.
Okay, to give you just a general sense of what they're talking about, they show this tree of life. That's all life on the planet. It is
pretty nuts.
Animals are like one thing. And then there's like land plants, and it's one thing. And then there's 30 things that are algae. And so
it is pretty nuts.
It's literally because of how long they've been around and how diverse they've gotten. So as I was listening to these lectures, and it is dense, but there was one thing that stuck out to me, is that using microorganisms as fermentation is super interesting. And I also saw, while I was watching Good Eats too, and he was talking about kimchi, and I was like, okay, I want to dig into fermentation in general, because fermentation is just using microorganisms to do awesome stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's how yogurt's made. That's how
yogurt, kombucha, kimchi,
yep,
vinegar, alcohol, pickles, beer, things that are amazing and everyone loves, is all because you put microorganisms in a food source and you let them do their thing. And I think this originally came from just, I was like, what is vinegar? Why is vinegar the way that it is? Why is it the way that it is? Do you know what vinegar is? It is literally just fermented sugar solution, so whatever. That's why there's a bunch of different kinds, like red wine vinegar is using the sugar and grapes. It basically can be whatever type, and they use a bacteria that creates acid, and that's it. And that's why there's a million different kinds, because it's whatever has sugar in it. That's all it takes. And that's also why if you let wine get too old, it starts to taste like vinegar, because I think it just kind of keeps going and it gets that like acidic taste. But vinegar, the first records they have of it is 3000 BC. Ancient Babylonians. They did it from dates, figs, and beer, and they used it culinary and medicinally. And then also you saw the same thing in Egypt. And then the Greeks and the Romans were making wine vinegar, and the Spartans. So this is not something new. And I wonder if it's that same thing where they were making wine and then they let it go too far. And they're like, what's this?
Now this is for salad.
It's different. It doesn't taste good anymore. What can we do with this? I don't know. And so it was just interesting to think about that. And then I started thinking, essentially, what other stuff can do this? Because, okay, have you ever had apple cider vinegar? Like the one that says like with the mother?
With the mother.
The mother is the bacteria. It's like, have you seen how they make kombucha? You maybe don't want to watch it.
It looks like
an alien.
It looks like a cow stomach is what it looks like.
It does kind of look like a cow stomach. It looks...
I know this because we eat lots of menudo in my family, and menudo is awesome, but it looks real weird.
Yeah, that's the texture is what gets me on menudo. I'm not like an organ person. It gets to me a little bit, but it tastes good. And but essentially, when you drink any of these things, or like when you use vinegar, or I think they said even when you open a vinegar, you can have it bloom. You can have like a mother like bloom in your vinegar when you open it. Like
in the air? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think so it's in there. And then once it gets oxygen again, it can like come back.
Okay, I see.
And so I think, I have read, I'm seeing in chat, Twiggly saying it's supposed to be good for you. I've read this before. And like, I've done this before, because my last job, the president of it essentially was a hardcore stickler on, if you have started to get sick, if you have felt a first cold symptom, just start taking like a half ounce, I guess, of apple cider vinegar.
Don't take it
twice
straight.
a day. Do not take it straight. It feels like you're melting your throat off.
You're going to get meth mouth from vinegar.
I'll tell you right now, what you do is you mix it with apple juice, and it tastes like spicy apple juice. That's good. It's not bad.
I used to just put a little bit in, like, because when I used to work at Florida Ag Research, we used to, I mean, you're in the hot sun all day long a lot of times, and I would just put some in my container of water that I'd refill like 40 times. But you just literally a cap full.
Yeah.
And it tastes like lemon water.
It does kind of taste lemony.
But if you got to dilute it the right direction. If you put it too strong, then it's like, ooh, what am I drinking? But
no, and I've tried it straight.
Bit.
It's bad. It hurts. Good. But I'm not exactly sure why it's good for you. I'm sure there has to be articles on it. I'm not positive though. But
I think they say something about your gut bacteria.
I think it's like because of the mother. Because I feel like anybody that's saying that apple cider vinegar is good for you, it has to have the bacteria in it. So I think
Did you bring this because next week's Mother's Day?
Yeah, the mother. The mother reminded me of vinegar. No, but it was basically just, I was watching Good Eats, I was watching our algae videos, and they all kept talking about how awesome microorganisms have been to us. And they have been, because all of these things are great.
That is really cool. And yeah, I've been enjoying learning about algae. Okay, so I have a discovery that I don't know how this one got past you and you haven't brought this one, because this sounds like right up your alley. It's kind of like a gentleman thief, kind of like that's kind of like your thing now, is like the gentleman thief. But instead of a gentleman thief, this guy was a gentleman, but he was a prankster. Horace de Vere Cole. He was an eccentric prankster born in, he was from Ireland, but he actually, there's a little bit of background. They gave a lot of background about him. It's a Wikipedia article, so here we go.
Okay.
But he served in a war. What is that war? I've never heard of that war.
I haven't heard of that war either.
Second Boer?
It's Irish. I guarantee it's not how you pronounce it, but I don't know how.
BOER, war.
I feel like it might be like bear.
Probably.
You know what I mean? Irish is hard.
But anyway, he served in this war. He got basically honorably discharged because he had shrapnel. He got hurt pretty bad. And he donated all of his, basically his earnings from cashing out early from the military to the war fund for widows and orphans. So I thought that was really cool. So he's like he's a good guy. Like, it's not just like he's a goofy guy. He seems like he's a really cool guy. But I love some of these pranks he played. And I mean, like I said, this is the 1800s into the early 1900s. This is a long time ago. At one point, he posed as the uncle of the Sultan of Zanzibar. And he said that he was visiting London for the first time to make a ceremonial visit to his own college. One of the things that he liked to do is he liked to kind of play pranks and kind of pull the wool over of politicians' eyes, or like people of power, kind of like make them look goofy and make them, probably a military thing. Probably like back in the day, he's like, you generals, you act like you know everything, but you're just idiots, just like everybody else. So he probably like tries to make them look like idiots.
That sounds fun.
It was great. His best known trick was the dreadnought hoax on February 1910. He fooled the captain of the Royal Navy warship, the Dreadnought, into taking him and a group of his friends for an official Abyssinian delegation. See, I don't know what that means, but it sounds like a really in-depth like tour, like on their boat. Why don't you see if you can look that up real quick?
That's what I'm going to look up.
Abyssinian delegation.
Oh, no, it's just, it was a Ethiopian country. It was the empire of Ethiopia. Yeah.
So he tried to get them to take him around as a
he was trying
delegate,
to be, he was trying to pretend to be a delegate to Ethiopia.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff he would do. There was a few other ones that I want to mention though. On occasion, he would wander the street. This one brings out my 12-year-old immature self, and I can't help but giggle at it.
Oh no, I'm already going there mentally. Like, we're gonna have to talk about some pranks here in a minute.
He would wander the streets with a cow's udder poking through the fly of his trousers. And but he would act like he didn't know it was there. And then once everyone would point it out and he would realize it was there, he would pull out a pair of scissors and just cut it off.
That's such an extreme ending to that. That's
is it's so good. I mean, this is such a great joke. It's good on so many levels.
That's
and
ridiculous.
Also horrible on so many levels.
Because it hits people in a lot of different ways. It's going to just be shock, general shock value.
But this wasn't just something he did. This was part of who he was. Even on his honeymoon with his first wife, which, here we go, this guy's been married a bunch of times, but with his first wife, on April Fool's Day in 1919, he dropped horse manure onto the Venice Piazza San Marco, a city that has no horses and can only be reached to by boat.
Okay, I'm loving this guy so far because, like, that's a subtle joke. People just be like, "Wait, what is that?"
He's a very clever guy. He's one of the other ones. I'm not going to like read it out loud, but it's just it was a funny one. He had a friend, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to race you from this corner to that corner." It was like in the middle of London, and before he started the race, he put his own gold stopwatch in the guy's pocket. Like he was a little bit of a sleight of hand artist as well. So he put his own stopwatch in this guy's pocket. And he's like, "Okay, Mark, get set, go." And the guy starts running as fast as he can. And then this guy, Cole, sees a cop and he's like, "Stop that man. He stole my watch." And so the cop goes and tackles his friend.
And he did have the watch.
And he's like, "Check and see if he has my watch." And he did have the watch. It's like, oh my gosh, this is the best joke ever.
This guy is maybe the best prankster I've ever heard of. It makes me feel not good at pranks anymore.
And this is my last one about this guy. This guy was amazing. This guy's great. You guys need to look him up. The links will be in the show notes. But he was great. At one point, he bought a bunch of tickets to a play, like one of those like hoity-toity nice plays in London. And he gave them away to bald people, but under the condition that he let them write something on their heads. And when everyone sat in their right seats, it spelled out bullocks.
It's so much dedication to weird pranks. Like it's impressive.
So all these rich people that are in like the box seats
are just looking at that,
seeing all these bald guys with letters on their heads, and it spells out bullocks.
That
is great. This guy was awesome.
That guy is a legend. I don't know how else to describe it.
So that was Horace de Vere Cole.
It's a great
discovery, man. It was a good one.
Yeah, no,
I will say I got this from Today I Learned. This was one of my favorite ones.
There's why then. I don't do anything from Today I Learned because I feel like there's going to be overlap.
With me?
Yeah.
Because that's my thing?
Yeah.
That's my jam? Yeah.
Yeah.
I do a lot of discoveries from there for the social media.
For the Twitter,
yeah. Yeah, but I was looking, I'm like, no, this one's got to be discussed. This one can't just be dropped.
But that's why I don't do that one typically. But okay, this did make me think of, I like the occasional prank. You know, it's fun to prank people. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I did it a lot more in like high school. I thought the other day about the worst one we ever did was we had a friend in high school and we took a can of cat food and the wet cat food. So, and we also picked the most disturbing one we could think of. I think it was like salmon and liver. It was something disgusting and it smells bad fresh. But what we did is we stuck it underneath her spare tire. So it's like underneath her trunk, underneath the tire, just left it. And we live in Florida. Summers are hot. It did not take long at all for that to be rancid, like a smell that you can't imagine. And so it essentially was like a rotten meat air freshener that was in her car. And I think she like took it to the shop, and we should have like stopped it at some point. You know, we should have like, she was like, "What's?" I didn't know. She didn't take it to the shop. Remember that. She got a car wash like a bunch of times. She's like, "Just clean it, just clean this thing up." And then her brother, like at some point, a lot later on.
That was what's funny. We were friends with her brother, but actually, your youngest brother was friends with him. They were in like the same class, right? Yeah. But we became friends with him later, and we told him what we did. He's like, "Wait, that was you guys?" She drove me to school every day, and for like a whole month, it was horrible.
He had to live in that stuff.
That was one of those things like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I was not thinking collateral damage.
There was lots of pranks that many of them we can't talk about on this show that we did in high school, but they were fun and they were great. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of them I saw like Coach was in chat. One of them was set up by Coach.
Yes,
because
that was fun.
When we were all on the soccer team,
it backfired on us a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, in a great way though. But like a bunch of the girls decided they were going to prank us, and so
they decided to prank the whole soccer team.
And so they were out there, and it was our coach told us this because he's got our back. He's our coach.
This is what happened. They were scared they were going to get in trouble. See, this is the problem.
Yeah, this is the problem. They asked to make sure it was okay.
Is you don't ask permission to do a prank.
No, you just do it.
So
and
they
deal with the consequences.
They asked the soccer coach permission to do a prank on the soccer players. And he's like, yeah, sure. And then he's like, hey guys.
Yeah, he betrayed them immediately. And so we get, our coach tells us like, hey, all the girls
This is the night that we put the cat stuff in that girl's thing.
It?
Yes, that was part of our prank back at them.
Was it?
Yes. It was.
I didn't realize. I knew the flower was. Okay,
I don't think
anyways,
it was the same night.
I'll set the stage.
Go ahead.
We get told that the girls are all on our soccer field, and I think they were forking it, right? Like forking,
yes.
So they would stab forks all over the place, and then we'd have to go out there and pick up each fork individually. It's a pain. We did it a lot in high school because we thought it was funny, and it was just annoying, but without being actually damaging to anything. So that was like a thing. And so they start doing that, and we get a call from our coach. He's like, hey, the girls are out there. And so we're like, okay. And so we literally mobilize all the boys, and we're like, let's go. And we get out there, and they're like giggling and stabbing the soccer field with forks. And we are hiding.
And they're like videotaping it. All their parents are there. Like
this
their
is before
moms are
this
there.
is before Instagram. But yeah, they were having a great time. Like if it was Instagram time, every single one of them would have been live streaming.
Literally, we didn't even have cell phone video by then.
They
literally had video cameras out there. Like, hey, look, boys, we're forking your field.
Yeah.
And the whole time we're destroying their parents' cars.
Yeah. So what we did is we antiqued their cars, which is just you throw water and then you throw flour. But what we did not think through, because we were like we said, you don't think, you act. You act irresponsibly and you deal with the fallout of that.
And we didn't ask permission.
No, we just did. And so we threw water all over their windshields, and then we hit it with flour. And what that does is it makes glue. And so we glued all of their windshield wipers to their windshields. We got in trouble for that one.
Yeah,
but then
their moms didn't like that their cars no longer could be seen through the front window.
Like at all. And after we did that, so they didn't know we were doing this. So we just heard them giggling and have a great time on the field. We were just doing this. And then we turned on the sprinklers. And so they're all on the soccer field, and we just turned on the sprinklers on them. And then we all ran off, and then they couldn't leave because they couldn't see out of their windshields. It was a pretty fun night.
Yeah, that was a good joke.
Yeah.
That one we can tell. There was some of those we can't, but that was a good one. That was a good mass
Just a fun
joke.
one. But yeah, that's a great story. So, okay. I saw today that ICANN rejects the .org sale. So, like anytime you see like a nonprofit, .org, you know, that was trying to be bought by a private equity group. A private investment group was trying to buy that entire like series of domain names essentially. And okay, it's kind of dense, but I was just curious because I saw this happen. I was like, what all is going on here? So essentially there's a group. So the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names, ICANN, names and numbers, you know, so they are like kind of in charge of all of this, all the domain names, everything going on. They kind of are like the registrar of all of this. And they were approached by a large investment group to buy they were going to buy a lot of things. They weren't just trying to buy .org. They were trying to buy a lot of things, the entire group. And I think there was a big outcry from people. There was a big outcry from nonprofits because they wanted it to stay this way. So what I was curious is like, why are they... I didn't really ever know why .org was like a thing. You know, why that was, because when you see that, you kind of think...
I didn't know that it was... So it's supposed to be a nonprofit?
I don't think it had to be. You know what I mean? But it kind of is. When you think of like charities or any kind of nonprofit, it's usually a .org.
You're not wrong.
For the vast majority of them.
I didn't think I ever put those things together. I thought it was just like, oh, well, .com's not available, so I'm going to go with .org. Oh, that's not available. I'll go with .gov. I thought it was just like that. That's not the way it goes, apparently.
I mean, I don't think you can just pick up a .gov
so we
domain
can't
name.
do the podcast discovery show.gov?
No, I don't think so.
Dang it.
I mean, maybe if it was like .gov .nkr, like North Korea internet. Yeah, I mean, maybe. No, I don't think we'd want that. But so in general, they started something, and I believe it was in the 80s. They started, so created in 1984, .org is one of the internet's original top-level domains. So .com, .net, .gov, .edu, and .mil. So military, government,
I didn't even know that was one. I didn't know .mil was one.
Yeah, and I mean, that was the origin of the internet, was military, DARPANET. You know, it was just communications. Colleges helped the military set up a global communication system that wasn't like telegraph or telephone poles. So they did all of that, but literally 1984 is when this started. And then they started in 2012, the Public Interest Registry. And then they tried to put in that .ngo, .ong, and .org. So they kind of separated this into, if you're an organization, that's kind of like your area. It's not something that's just for sale, like you're saying, where it's like, okay, I want this domain name. What suffix do I have to make it happen? It's like this, they tried to classify it themselves on what it was. And so they're almost like an advocacy group for nonprofits and different organizations. And they were approached with a huge buyout because they apparently even serve with ICANN, you know, so they're working with the internet as a whole, but then they were approached by a large buyout and it did not happen. So they ended up shutting down this deal. They did not sell the .org domains because basically I think the thought was, if it gets sold to the highest bidder, then they're just going to sell them. You know, they just want to be able to sell it.
Yeah.
And so they didn't want to do it. And so it didn't happen.
That's really interesting. And I didn't know, I mean, I've already learned so much about things.
Things.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that either. And so I looked it up because I was curious. I just saw this today and wondered.
So I found a quick article about nature. And see, this is one of those times, it's like another thing that we did as humans. And I'm like, I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but we did it. So let's see how it works out. 4 Canadian wolves have been airdropped in U.S. National Park to deal with the moose population. So 4 Canadian wolves were captured and airdropped on Lake Superior's Isle Royale National Park in Michigan. It doubled the pack's current number. So I was actually listening to a podcast the other day talking about how big moose were, and they're huge.
Yeah,
I've seen
giant.
I've seen, like, the top of your head is like the shoulder height of a
not even
moose.
close.
It's like bigger than your truck, substantially bigger than your truck. So they have very few predators just because of how big they are. But one of the few predators they do have are wolves. And so they have essentially integrated wolves. Now, the only thing is there are already wolves there. So it's not like this was an invasive species. There just weren't enough to make a difference in the moose population.
There probably wasn't enough to take down a moose.
Too many mises. So they had to put some wolves there. And it was crazy because they talked about how they caught the wolves. The helicopter crews fired net guns to capture the wolves.
What?
They captured 3 males and 1 female. I mean, it's just...
Wait, no. Does it talk about how they airdropped a wolf? What does that mean? Because you said they airdropped wolves.
Because I think this is on an island. Like, I think it's an island national park. And I think that's the issue.
No, I'm saying they put them in like a parachute and there's like... Kick them out and go do wolf things.
Okay, this is one of the, dang it, this is the one that I said I was going to wing. I don't know enough about it. So this is to help control the moose population. Estimated on this island, this small island, estimated to be near 1,500
How did the moose
herd
get there?
is
they
not
can
kept
swim.
in check. Moose can swim very well. Do you know what one of the main predators to moose is? I learned this the other day on that same podcast.
Sharks.
Orca whales.
Really?
Yes, because in Alaska in particular, they are very good swimmers, so they'll swim from like the mainland to a big island for food, but they'll swim through like deep water to the point where like they'll swim through like bays and stuff that orcas live in, and an orca pod will just take one out, and that's a lot of food.
That blows my mind.
Anyway, I just thought this was crazy. In my brain, I'm like, okay, so I get it. Some people don't like hunters, but why don't you just let people go out there and shoot some mooses instead of integrating more?
It's probably logistically. And I mean, that's nature taking care of nature.
I just be so scared that now that your wolves are going to eat easier prey rather than the moose. And then you're not going to have any snow hares or like something else on that national park reserve that previously was there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where if you put a human there, he's gonna be like, all right, I'm only allowed to shoot the mooses. I'm allowed to shoot 2 mooses today, and I can't shoot nothing else. And I don't want to lose my nice hunting spot, so I ain't gonna mess this up.
Yeah.
Bubba's gonna do a lot better than these wolves would.
No, but you said that the wolves were already there, right?
There was like 3 wolves.
Yeah, that's what
so
I'm
they
saying.
doubled the population of the wolf pack. So then they were strong enough.
Yeah, and that's not anything crazy.
It's not.
You know,
it's not.
going from 3 to
but
6.
I did think it was crazy how much effort that they literally were shooting net guns down on wolves from helicopters and stuff like that to be able to take them over to this island. Thought it was a pretty neat discovery.
Yeah, that is that's wild. That's wild. And honestly, my mind is still blown that orcas are eating mooses. Like,
I think we're going to talk about that podcast one day, and I might actually do that episode because it was really good.
Yeah, that's mind blowing. Well, for my last discovery of the week, it's the band of the week. And this band, I believe you've also seen. I think you went with us out to Green Bench, right? In St. Pete?
Yes. I remember that.
This band is called The Venus.
Oh, I remember them.
They, I don't know. They describe themselves as sci-fi surf odyssey, but it's really awesome rock. If you're in the Tampa, St. Pete area when all this is blown over, go see The Venus live. You will not regret it even a little bit. They had all of their shows canceled, obviously, like most other people, but they have a new record that they've wrapped. You know, he played one for me when I talked to him. I talked to Alex and Jeremy from the band, and it's gonna be a pretty good album. You know, they're a really interesting band. It's gonna be a really good listen. So this song is off their new album called Ancestor Simulator, and it's called Friends of Evolution. But before we go, like or subscribe on YouTube. Hit follow on Spotify. Leave a rating or review. Leave your shirt size. We're gonna send you a shirt.
If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button.
Yeah,
we need to get to that 1,000 subscribers, so it's not like
a weird
youtube.com/13567B25 with lots more other stuff. It's just ridiculous. You don't get a real URL until you have 1,000 subscribers.
I know. So
which
yeah,
is nuts.
we want a URL that says like
the
/PDS. The PDS. That's what we want. That's our goal. But basically, just get in touch in any way. We have a Facebook group called the Podcast Discovery Club. We have a great time with those guys. They were all yelling about cereal today, and it was really fun.
You'll hear about that on Wednesday. It'll be a good discussion. It'll be a good fun time.
And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Basically, just get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your discoveries that you've made recently.
If you want to support the show, we have a Patreon, but also we have a Venmo if you just want to drop like a one-time tip or whatever for the show. We also are starting to stream a little bit more on Twitch. We just started the integration for that. We're going to be doing some games and then also live streaming the show there and our Facebook group. So join our Twitch if you're on Twitch at all, or if not, get on Twitch. It's pretty fun. There's a lot of really cool people there.
But basically just get in touch. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for your time.
We appreciate it. We have a great time doing this, and we hope that you enjoyed listening. Without further ado, this is the newest single from The Venus, and it's called Fringe of Evolution.
Bye!